and just build a little bit about some of the things I'm seeing being promoted. What's up, G? By mainstream rap artists that are destroying the moral fiber of our families, and it's promoting dysfunctional concepts and ideas to our youth. About a month or so ago, Lil Wayne had this Karate Chop remix where he has a rhyme in there talking about he beats a woman's vagina up like Emmett Till. Now, for those of you who don't know who Emmett Till is, back in the 1950s, he was a young boy that was visiting from the north down into the south, and he was brutally beaten and murdered by some white people because he supposedly flirted with some white woman. And the beating and murder was so horrendous that the family of Emmett Till wanted to expose that to the public, so they allowed him to have an open casket in his funeral. So you can go to Google, you can just go and put in Emmett Till, and you can see the images of what this young brother's body looked like from being beaten and murdered. So Lil Wayne had the creative idea to put that in his lyrics, which is basically promoting sadomasochism or sexual violence, not just against women, but just sexual violence, period. Like it's okay. Emmett Till's family came out publicly and issued a statement about the blatant disrespect. Various other people, even Stevie Wonder, had some remarks about the ignorance and the disrespect that Lil Wayne has showed not only us as a people and Emmett Till's family, but just human beings in general, from even putting something out like that. And that was about a month or so ago. Recently, we have Rick Ross promoting date rape. He has this song called Yowza, which is an acronym for You Didn't Even Know It, where he has a line talking about he slipped a female a Molly, which is drugs, took her home and took sexual advantage of her, and she didn't even know it. So this has been going viral right now. People talking about the blatant disrespect that Rick Ross is showing women by promoting date rape like that. Now, a lot of people, their initial reaction to this, and I say reaction, not response, has been kind of knee-jerk. That's why I don't listen to it. That's why I don't listen to it. And the problem with that posture is that if you don't listen to it, you may be a parent, you may be an educator, you may be an aunt and uncle, you may be a mentor, you may be a co-worker with youth who are listening to it. They may not be downloading it from iTunes in your house if you're a parent, but if they're associating with other youth who have different type of parents, who are downloading it from iTunes, who are getting it off mixtapes, they're listening to it. They may know these lyrics back and forward, and you don't even know that they know it. You may not even know that they are buying into these lyrics and they think that it's all right. They may not even know what date rape is, but yet they're quoting these lyrics. But because you don't listen to it, you don't even know if or how you can even address this with them. So my initial position is I listen to it. I pride myself on knowing where the minds of our youth are at and what is being promoted to the youth so that I can be properly equipped of how to address that. I have two daughters myself. One is going to be graduating high school this year. My youngest daughter is a 10th grader. So with the Lil Wayne incident over a month or so ago, we've had a conversation about that. Because since it came up, and since I keep my ears to the street and strive to find out what the youth are being exposed to, I knew that that was an opportunity for me to have that type of conversation to see if what are your thoughts on that? What are your feelings about this? It's the same thing with this incident with Rick Ross talking about date rape. If you don't listen, you may not know that this is an important conversation to have with your daughters and sons. because a lot of them may not know what he's actually promoting by saying slipping some female of Molly, taking her home and taking advantage of her, and she not even knowing it. You know, this is a good opportunity to have these type of dialogues with our youth, and even, you know, people who are your age, because you may not know where they stand on those issues and if they think it's okay or not, you know. So that's the first thing. I think it's important to listen. You don't have to like it because I don't like the majority of this stuff that I'm hearing, but I know that I have to listen, because if you're not listening, we're ill-equipped and don't even know what we need to address with our youth, what they're being exposed to. It puts us in a position where we're kind of feeling around in the dark. We're kind of freestyling, or, you know, coming off the top of the head thinking, okay, well, maybe I need to have this kind of conversation with my niece or my nephew. Maybe I need to have this kind of conversation with, you know, the people, the youth in my community. Maybe I need to have this conversation with my daughter or my son. Sometimes there are things that we may not consider, but if we're listening, we know for a fact this is something we need to speak on, which isn't right and exact. And we need to find out what is our children and the youth's position on this particular idea that's being promoted to them. Because we know for sure that under those circumstances, we're not leaving any stone unturned. But if we just leave it to ourselves and say, I'm not listening to it, we won't even know whether or not we need to address these issues with our youth or what they're being exposed to. So that's the first thing that I want to encourage a lot of us to do, whether you're parents, whether you're aunts or uncles, your caretakers, your mentors, your educators. We need to listen. We need to listen, because through listening, we can find out what we need to assess and what we need to express to our youth. You know, so that's the first thing that I wanted to say. Secondly, on a local level, that is the most practical way that we can start addressing these type of ideas that's being promoted to the youth in particular and to people in general, by being able to generate dialogue and have these type of conversations from a local level. Then we can start organizing more on a regional level. For example, I just went to an event last Saturday about children of incarcerated parents. There were a lot of people in the community that came out to that. I had an opportunity to meet a younger brother who's from Brooklyn or Medina, and he lived right down the block from the incident that went on with Kamani Gray, the young brother, the 16-year-old that got murdered by the New York police, and the rioting and stuff that went on. He lived about a block from there. Matter of fact, his younger sibling was friends with this young brother that got murdered. So by me going to the event, engaging this younger brother, I had an opportunity to find out some of the things that's been going on in that particular location in Brooklyn and get some eyewitness accounts. Not some he say, she say, but a person that was actually in that environment that can tell you word of mouth of what was actually going on. So if I didn't participate in this event about children of incarcerated parents, and the reason why he was there is because his father was incarcerated and he had just recently got reconnected with his father, and just talking about some of the trials and tribulations and challenges he went through as a youth because of that type of alienation from his parent. And there were other organizations at this event as well that talked about how we can strive to reconcile these situations where parents can still be parents and actively involved in their children's lives, even though they may be incarcerated. So once we start having these type of dialogues, engaging one another, because we're listening on a local level, we can start organizing on a regional level. And then from a regional level of having events, having conferences, and discussing these issues about date rape, discussing these issues about accountability in the lyrics of a lot of these mainstream artists, and also holding these corporations accountable for allowing these type of ideas to be put out here to the general public. Because if Lil Wayne would have said he's gonna beat this Jewish girl's vagina up like Hitler, I don't think that those lyrics would have, the Anti-Defamation League would have been all over him. And he would have been issuing a public apology, and something like that wouldn't have blew over to the general public. The same thing with Rick Ross. If he would have said something about, I slipped this faggot a Molly, or some other derogatory name against homosexuals, transgender people, or lesbians, or whatever, they would have been all over him. And he would have been issuing a public statement about how he didn't mean to offend that community or whatever. So the fact that we're seeing artists like that get away with saying things disrespectful about Emmett Till, or saying things disrespectful about women, which is implied black women, because it's Rick Ross saying it, to get away with it, then it shows you that the people who are backing these artists corporately don't have the same degree of respect, consideration, and accountability to the general body or the audience who a Lil Wayne or a Rick Ross is promoting this music to. They don't see nothing wrong with that because it's not their people that they're talking about. So what that means is, as a people, we have to be responsible for policing ourselves and having the integrity to say, I don't stand for this. This is not right and exact. And listening enough to engage our own children in these conversations to let them know that they have to have the integrity and that it's disrespectful and they shouldn't stand for these things as well. Once we're able to start doing this and having these discussions on a local level and engaging others from different other places on a regional level, now it gains the momentum and it gains the support of a national level. Now you have more of a larger accountability and a larger level of awareness of how dysfunctional, disrespectful, and just savage a lot of these ideas are in regards to empowering, inspiring, and educating our youth and people in general. So, again, the first thing that we got to do is listen. You ain't got to like it, but it's important for you to listen, because if you don't listen, you're going to be ill-equipped to be even able to address these things that's being promoted to our youth. Once you listen and you're starting to engage our youth, in particular, with these type of conversations about the rightness or the wrongness of these things that's being promoted to them in the music, now we can start connecting with people on a regional level that share a common idea and a common interest in making sure that our youth are being empowered, encouraged, inspired, and educated about bringing about a positive future, and that it's not okay to promote sex and violence. And the more we begin to organize with each other on a regional level, we can start having more of a national voice on this is not right and exact. So willfully, this was something that was inspiring, it was educating, it was empowering for those of you who want to know what you can do now, today, in order to start addressing these things that is being promoted to our youth that's not right and exact. And I encourage you always to comment on the things that I'm putting up. Maybe it's something that I missed. Maybe it's something that you could elaborate on further. But I encourage you to comment. I encourage you to share this. And like I said, we need to start on a local level by listening. Engage in one another in this conversation about the rightness or the wrongness of these things that's being promoted. As we have these conversations on a local level, we can start engaging each other on a regional level, having a larger conversation. And then from the regional level, we can start having a larger conversation on a national level. And that's how we can start holding these artists, for lack of a better word, and corporate interests more accountable for what they're promoting out here to the general public and calling it art. Peace.